The thing is, you never expect to walk into your own house and find your world flipped upside down. But that's exactly what happened to me. I'm talking about the day I cut a business trip short, stepped out of my car feeling like $1,000,000, and walked right into a nightmare. I remember it so clearly. October sun fading, my shoes echoing in the foyer, that damn chandelier glinting. Overhead, the usual smells, the music, the warmth, it was all just gone. I called out for Chloe, my little girl, and for Victoria, my wife, figuring maybe they were napping, but the silence just pressed in, thick and wrong. You ever get that sixth sense, like something's off before you even see it? Yeah, that was me. Then I heard it, a tiny sob coming from the sunroom. I followed the sound, heart pounding, feeling like a stranger in my own home. And there, in the middle of all those windows and orchids, stood my 7-year-old Chloe, little pink dress, face streaked with tears, surrounded by sharp bits of shattered ceramic. Victoria stood over her, arms folded, pearls and sweater all perfect, but her eyes. I'd never seen anything so cold. She told my daughter, in this voice like ice, that little girls who break things need to learn consequences, and ordered her to pick up every shard. I watched my kid step between those shards, hands shaking, blood welling up on her fingers, and I swear, something inside me broke. Stop, I whispered, but it barely came out. Victoria's head snapped around, caught, for just a second, with pure, hateful fury in her eyes, not at me, but at Chloe. She recovered fast, all fake concern, rushing over like nothing happened. Claimed she was just teaching Chloe to be careful, some nonsense about a vase. But Chloe, my sweet, anxious kid, she looked up at me with those huge brown eyes, her mother's eyes, the kind that make you want to fight the world for her. I scooped her up, blood and all, and carried her out of there, mind spinning. And then, in the bathroom, as I cleaned her hands, I noticed Victoria had a little cut too, behind her ear. It didn't make sense. Chloe said she'd been in her room the whole time, heard the crash, and when she came out, the vase was already broken. That's when the ground under me really started to shift. The days after that, a blur of worry. Chloe barely spoke, started wetting the bed again, something she hadn't done since her mother, Sarah, passed. I took her to Dr. Chun, a gentle pediatric psychologist, just trying to figure out what was happening to my kid. Chloe started telling her about dreams, her mom visiting, warning her about Victoria, saying she'd been poisoned with medicine in her tea. I felt the blood leave my face, remembering how Sarah had gotten sick out of nowhere, and how Victoria, back then just a friend, kept bringing her herbal teas. I'd chalked up the weirdness to grief or bad luck, but now, let me back up a sec. Sometimes, your mind fights you when you start connecting the dots you never wanted to see. Dr. Chen looked me dead in the eye and told me to start documenting everything. Install cameras. Bring Chloe back in a week. She said Chloe's symptoms weren't normal, that her stories were too detailed for a 7-year-old to invent. I followed her advice, hired a security company to wire the house, every room but the bedrooms and bathrooms. Started watching everything with new eyes. The first real crack in Victoria's mask came at dinner, when I noticed how she talked to Chloe, that fake sweetness barely covering the control. She tried to push me out of helping Chloe with homework. You have a call. Dear, let me help her. But Chloe's face fell, and that was all I needed. Actually, I'm all yours tonight, princess. The way Victoria looked at me then, let's just say it was the kind of look that'd curdle milk. Later that night, watching the security footage, I saw Victoria rifling through Chloe's things, finding a diary I didn't even know existed, and burning pages in the fireplace. What could a kid possibly write that would scare her enough to do that? The pieces just kept falling into place, and none of them fit the story I thought I was living. Things spiraled fast. The more I dug, the uglier it got. I hired Marcus Rodriguez, a private investigator, ex-cop, bulldog. In 3 weeks, he'd turned up records showing Victoria wasn't even her real name. She'd changed it more than once, bounced between hospitals as a nurse, fired under clouds of suspicion about cardiac events with wealthy patients. Turns out, she'd been left money in a few wills. You know what I mean? The kind of Black Widow story you read about but never think could happen to you. He found a storage unit too, with journals, bottles of poison, and records tying her to at least 7 deaths, including Sarah's. Each entry detailed, obsessive, like she needed to relive every step. My hands were shaking reading that stuff, but Rodriguez was stone cold. We call that a black widow, Mr. Blake. She picks her marks carefully. The FBI got involved. 2 agents, Walsh and Chun, laid it out. At least 14 victims, maybe more, all wealthy, all vulnerable, all gone. That's when the world really broke open. The feds wanted me to wear a wire. Catch Victoria confessing. I agreed. Didn't feel brave, just desperate. I sent Chloe to stay with my sister, then faced Victoria one last time. She tried to play the old game, sweet at first. But when I started talking about Sarah and those herbal teas, the mask slipped. She admitted it all, right there on tape, dropped the act, and basically told me it was never about money. Just about the game. The challenge of breaking people, taking everything they love. The agents moved in, cuffs snapped on, and I thought for half a second that was it. We were safe. But you know how in thrillers, the villain always has a final move? That was Victoria. She laughed. Actually laughed. When the feds dragged her out, then my phone rang. It was my sister, screaming. Chloe was gone. Someone had taken her, left a note. The game isn't over until everyone loses everything. From there, it turned into a nightmare. The FBI, command center in my living room. Searching for Chloe, analyzing every camera from here to Albany. Then a text came through, an address, a threat. Come alone or she dies. I had no choice. I drove out to this godforsaken cabin in the woods, every second feeling like I was failing my daughter. Victoria's father was there, Thomas Caldwell, a monster in his own right, taught her everything she knew. He wanted money. Demanded I recant my accusations, drop the charges, let them walk. But Chloe, my little survivor, sent me a signal. We had this old game, counting to 10 before I'd find her. I used it as code, letting the FBI know we were ready. On 10, the agents stormed the place, Caldwell reaching for a gun, but they got Chloe out safe. That was it. The nightmare was over, at least the part with monsters. In the house. 6 months later, I'm sitting in a backyard in Vermont, watching Chloe chase butterflies, healing in ways I can barely understand. The trial was a circus. Victoria, the beautiful serial killer, her father, all their secrets dragged into the light. She'll never get out. Chloe, for all she's endured, still finds joy. Still asks me if her mom's proud. I tell her yes, every single day. You know, sometimes you think the world's only made for breaking people, but I've learned otherwise. Sometimes the game really does end, and the good guys walk away with more than just scars. They walk away with hope. And if you're still here listening, I hope you hold on to that. Tell me, what do you make of right and wrong, justice and second chances? Drop your thoughts below, and let me know where you're watching from. And hey, maybe a little piece of good news is headed your way soon.